Hi there. Welcome to the Whiskey Catapult, where we catapult around the world trying whiskeys from all over the world. So today, I actually have the rarest bottle that I own, and I'll get into that here in a second. But this is Penderyn from Wales. So we're catapulting over to Wales in the UK. So if you've never had Welsh whiskey before, stay tuned. And even though this is the rarest bottle I own, and you're probably not going to be able to buy it, I'm going to be talking about Penderyn as a whole because I'm a really big fan of the distillery and give you some other alternatives since this one's probably not available anymore. So, rarity comes down to a couple things. Some people are like, oh, rarity is kind of like Pappy Van Winkle or something. But for me, Pappy Van Winkle releases every year. Yes, they're probably batchy, but still, there's several hundred bottles that release each time that those come out. This is rare because it's bottle 48 of 48. This is the lowest outrun of a bottle release that I've ever seen. And that was one of the reasons I got it. The main reason I got it is because it's Penderyn, and I'm a big fan of Penderyn. So this is Cask S195. It is 55.6% alcohol. And as I mentioned, it's bottle 48 of 48. And this is a Oloroso Sherry single cask. And this one was bottled specifically for hard-to-find whiskey, which they're not a sponsor. That's just where I bought it from. And they had like 3 specific cask releases on this one, and all of them were of a low bottle range. So their website doesn't say specifically if, because normally with a sherry cask, whether it's a sherry hogshead or a sherry butt, you can get anywhere between 150 to 300 bottles from one of those casks, maybe even more if it's a sherry butt. But this one only had 48. So with Penderyn being on the younger distillery side, I have a hard time believing that they had a sherry cask that everything just got lost to angel share, and they were only able to get 48 bottles out of it. Is there a possibility that something happened to the cask and it got damaged and that's all they had left over? It's possible. They're not going to disclose that, but it's a possibility. But if I recall correctly, I believe they'd used an octave cask, which is a much smaller size cask than what you would normally get from a sherry butt or hogshead, because those are much larger. But usually when I see a octave cask being used, the bottle outrun is closer to like 50 to 60 bottles is what you can get out of that size. And this one being 48, I would lean towards it being on that side. But again, the website doesn't say, unfortunately, so I'm going to go with the assumption this is a sherry octave cask. And based on some of the notes that I've been getting from it lately, I would tend to think it leans in that area. So, go over some notes real quick and then I'll talk about Penderyn. So, it's got a really sweet nose. It's almost bourbon-like, which is very interesting. Because it's single malt, so it's all malted barley. So it doesn't have any of the bourbon-style mash bills. And especially being from a sherry cask instead of just an ex-bourbon cask, I wouldn't normally pick that up, but it's a nice nose. There's a little bit of a oak and dark fruit that you can kind of pick up. It's very faint. I think a little bit of water might open it up a little bit. But it's a nice nose. It's a bit of a sherry bomb. So you get that dark fruit really coming in. That spice just spikes up front and hits you at the top of your mouth. But it calms down, browns out a little bit. You get a lot of the dark fruits that you normally get with sherry. Got some berry notes. You get a good amount of wood and spice in there too, but it's all nicely balanced. The sherry is the more dominant flavor and note that you get. But the wood and spice notes that I'm getting are really nicely rounded out at the edge. It's nice. Unfortunately, the finish fades pretty fast, which is very surprising given that it's 55.6%. But this could be young whiskey. And usually with my experience with Penderyns, The younger aged ones do have a little bit less of a finish. I don't know if it's just doesn't have enough time in the cask to fully develop some of those notes and kind of add on to that, or what. But it fades pretty quick. You still get some of that light sherry note and fruit note in the background. But the nice thing is it's enticing and it makes me want to go back for another pour. So the finish doesn't bother me too much. I wish it lasted a little bit longer so I could kind of savor it a little bit more, but it's not a deal breaker for me. There's some really good notes on here. So, if you've never had Penderyn before, it's very similar to Scotch and English whiskey. It's all malted barley, similar region, similar environment that they're coming from. Excuse me. It's further south than Scotland. So you're probably going to get a little bit more warmer from their climate, but they make really good stuff. Their regular releases are range, I think in my area, are around $75, $80. And they're 46%. They have different cask types like sherry, rich oak, port, bourbon, etc. I think they've got a peated one as well. And they're pretty good. They're a good entry point to where if you don't really want to spend a little more for some of their different entries, they're still pretty good. And their distillate kind of is really fun to like, it works well with all different types of casks, which is what I really like about Penderyn. You still kind of get their main profile throughout all their different releases, but it doesn't matter what cask it is like, it works really well. I've had some distilleries that it clashes. For me, it just doesn't work well in like a port cask, or it doesn't work well in like a cognac cask, or some variation like that. I've yet to have that with Penderyn. It's worked really well across the board. So regular release is pretty good. They've got 2 higher tier releases, which I love. And so about those, the first one is their Icons of Wales. I've got a couple of examples of them over here. This is number 7 and number 8, and I think they're probably on closer to, I'm a little behind on them, but I think they're on like 13 or 14 at this point. But I consider their Icon of Wales kind of their experiment series because they do different types of casks that you wouldn't normally experience, which I think is really fun. This one here is Grand Cru wine finishes, which is really delicious. I've got one that's rum and ex-ruby port cask finish. So they play with different things. They're really transparent about the cask they use, which is really nice. And they're just interesting. And they're all at a pretty good ABV, and their price is actually pretty good too. These 2 in my area I got for like $85, $90. And I don't think I've seen one go really above $90, $95. Some of them have a little bit more intricate packaging, but it's still a good value. Now, where I think they really shine is their single casks. They do a fantastic job at their single casks. I wish, so when I first started seeing them, they were in the age range of, and they would, they've got the age on the bottle usually. They would be in the age range of like 11-year-old, 10-year-old, 9-year-old, more on the older side for a newer distillery like this, which I really appreciated, and it was really good. So the newer ones that I've seen in my area are closer to 6 and 7 year, and they're the same price, if not a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones I have. So again, part of that could be due to tariffs, part of it could be due to import costs, different things like that. I'm sure there's other factors, but I really just wish that they kept with that higher age statement on some of these. Not that the younger ones are bad, and maybe the younger ones just work a little bit better with the cask they're using. I've got a 6-year-old that's finished in ex-cognac casks. It's really nice. It's interesting, but it does make me wonder what would this have been like as like an 8 or a 9-year-old. Just a little bit, but again, still good. So if you're able to afford them, that's what I would recommend, especially if you like cask strength Scotch. This is a very excellent way to get into Welsh whiskey. So let's see now. Let's open up for a little bit, give it some air. See if I get anything else. It actually has a little bit of mustiness on the nose now. Not in a bad way. Let's see. Yep. You still get that nice wave of spice up front. Comes back down to the sherry, dark fruit notes. The oak kind of elevates itself up towards the end, kind of rounds it out. This is a really nice pour. So, really. So, again, this is ball 48 and 48. They're sold out. You're not going to be able to get it anymore, unfortunately. But I would recommend you keep it out because I've had a couple different single casts, same different year, same cast fish, etc. They're all pretty damn good, and you can't go wrong with them. So this is a buy it for me. If you've never had Welsh whiskey before, if you can find one of the entry level Penderyns at like a whiskey bar or something, I'd recommend giving it a try first to kind of see if it's in your wheelhouse. But if you like Scotch or even English whiskey, you're gonna like this. It's really good. It does a really good job of showcasing the cask while still maintaining the distillate at the base. And so it's really good. And I see these all the time in my market. My local shop Specs has had several different ones. I've seen some at Total Wine. They're usually brought in by Impex Bev is the distributor. So if you get Impex Bev stuff in your area, chances are you'll be able to find one like this. And so I recommend it. I think it's really, really good. So, yeah. If you like this review, hit that like button and subscribe to see where we catapult off to next. See you later.